Hello, my fellow letter carriers. This is a series of videos regarding the tentative agreement. We all have a big choice to make regarding the contract that's been presented to us. The ballots will be out soon, and every active member of the NALC will have a chance to vote. Here in Region 3, we've done 3 wrap sessions with the members. Everyone is talking about this contract, this tentative agreement, whether we want to vote yes, whether we want to vote no. Does it meet our needs? Does it, pay us what we think we deserve, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to do 3 different parts. The first part is going to be regarding our main bargaining goals when we began negotiations on February 22nd of 2023. The second part will be about addressing some of the fundamental issues with the job and how the tentative agreement does or doesn't address those things. And the third part will be a view of going to arbitration and what we think we can accomplish by voting no on this tentative agreement and going in front of an arbitrator. So with that, I'd like to get started by going back to President Renfro's opening statement at the beginning of negotiations. I was there. It was at LaFlante Plaza, the USPS headquarters, and our president introduced the opening statement for the union as we began contract negotiations.
Letter carriers seamlessly kept the economy and our communities running by delivering essential goods and medications, school supplies, stimulus checks, at-home COVID tests, and everything else that the American people need. For months, we enabled our customers to safely shelter at home, a luxury that essential workers like letter carriers did not have. And we proudly rose to the occasion, just like we always have. We also helped to uphold American democracy in 2 national elections by working directly and successfully with the Postal Service to ensure that American voters could safely and confidently cast their ballots at home during a time of intense polarization and heightened congressional scrutiny. During the pandemic, vote by mail skyrocketed, and letter carriers in the NALC were proud to play a crucial role in getting tens of millions of ballots delivered securely and on time.
Okay, so this contract that we're currently working under is the 2019 to 23 contract. The beginning of the contract was September of 2019, which was prior to the pandemic. We received no hazard pay during the pandemic, but certainly we can look back and see that our role in America, our role in the community, our role in preserving the democracy of the country, our essential status was elevated throughout the pandemic. We didn't miss a single day of work. If you compare what we were making prior to the pandemic to what we're going to make if we accept the terms of this tentative agreement, there's no doubt that the terms that we were working under in 2019 would serve as a baseline and could only go up from there. We worked through the pandemic. The job has gotten more dangerous. We're now getting assaulted, stuck up at gunpoint on the street regularly. We're out on the street longer, dealing with the heat and the other elements and the things and the dangers that are out there on the street. There's a lot of things that would lead you to believe that the pay should go up and definitely not down coming from the last contract.
In this round of collective bargaining, letter carriers have the chance to be recognized and rewarded for being the backbone of this beloved American institution, the United States Postal Service. Letter carriers are the face of the Postal Service. We are the ones customers see delivering to their homes and businesses. They know us and they rely on us for dependable, consistent service. We are indispensable and directly carry out the Postal Service's mission.
And then he states, our goals are simple.
Our goals are simple. First and foremost, we must address the staffing issue that is debilitating our craft. Nationwide, letter carriers are overworked and post offices are understaffed. One obvious solution that we seek is increased wages. If the Postal Service wants to recruit and retain letter carriers, it starts with a competitive wage.
Okay, so remember, no hazard pay. We have a collective bargaining agreement. It was apparent that the collective bargaining agreement that we had prior to 2019 did not take into account the fact that the job had become more dangerous and our essential role in the community. So now, let's take a look at the tentative agreement and start by comparing the pay in the tentative agreement with our pay in August of 2019, which was the last time we got a pay raise in the previous contract. Keep in mind that the DAS award that created the CCA classification, that created the whole Table 2 pay structure with a much lower starting pay and a longer period of time to get to the top of the pay, where you're spending a lot of time in a lower pay status versus Table 1. That contract we got January 10th of 2013. We got 2 subsequent contracts after that that kept the same Table 2 and kept the CCA classification, but there were improvements. The first one, first contract we got after the DAS award gave TEs credit for their TE time and gave them steps in the pay chart. The second one capped the amount of CCA time, non-career CCA time, at 2 years. So those were improvements in those, after the DAS award, but we're looking for more improvements in this one, and we're looking to be paid, as a result of our now essential status in America.
As everyone knows, our country's economic landscape is drastically different than it was in 2019 when we last sat at this negotiating table. Unemployment rates are at a 50-year low, and we face the increasingly difficult challenge of attracting sufficient applicants for letter carrier jobs at today's starting wages. This has significantly affected our ability to properly staff post offices and ultimately deliver the nation's mail.
So considering the concessions we had made in previous contracts, considering the economic situation that was present at the time in 2023, and considering the extra hazards and the essential nature that our job had become, does anyone think that our pay versus the pay in August of 2019 would actually go down? That if you compare our pay rates in the tentative agreement to the pay rates in August of 2019 and you adjust for inflation, that we would accept a deal, a new tentative agreement, a new contract that would reduce our pay, give us a pay cut? I don't think that would be acceptable to anyone. We got a chart here we'll put up on the screen to show you guys. And so the chart is showing the pay raises that are in the tentative agreement. There's cost of living allowances, like we've traditionally have, that are built into the contract. The current contract expired May of 2023, and in this tentative agreement, there's cost of living allowances that call, 2 per year. There's 1 at the end of 2023. There's 2 in 2024, and then there'll be 2 in 2025 and 2 in 2026. 3 of those cost of living increases or allowances have already been calculated. Now, what you need to know about these COLAs is that they are not equal to the rise in inflation. There is a calculation based on the Consumer Price Index, but our cost of living allowance is approximately about 55% of what the rise in that index is. So the rise of inflation is here. The cost of living allowance is a little bit less. It's 55%, about half of what the inflation. The rest of that is made up by our general wage increases. And as everyone knows, the general wage increases in this tentative agreement are 1.3%. 1.3% in November of 2023, 1.3% in November of 24. Now, if we use the calculator that's provided by the government's Bureau of Labor Statistics, we'll put up on the screen a link. Inflation has gone up by 23% between August of 2019 and October of this year. So if you think back in other previous contracts, in times where the inflation rate is low, if we're getting a 1.3, a 1.5, a 1 point whatever percent raise, if the rate of inflation is like 2%, then you're actually getting a pay raise versus the rate of inflation. But recently, inflation has been anywhere between 2 and 8% per year. In that type of environment, if you're only getting a 1.3% plus your cost of living allowance, you're getting a pay cut. So if you look at the pay raises that are in the tentative agreement, you'll see that during that time from August of 2019 to the present, our pay in the tentative agreement at each step, it went up approximately 18%. Well, inflation was 23%. So we're losing money versus inflation. We will get back pay under the terms of the tentative agreement. And when the back pay gets calculated, they'll pay you for every hour that you worked, the pay that it should have been in the tentative agreement. But if the tentative agreement was simply keeping up with inflation, your back pay would be significantly higher than what it actually is. And of course, the back pay is not going to come with any interest, and the Postal Service has been holding on to our money since the contract expired May 20th of 2023. We all knew we were going to get a pay raise out of this thing, but the pay raise was not enough to keep up with inflation, and because there's no interest associated with the back pay amounts that we're looking to get are actually significantly less than what we actually deserve. Okay, so there's one more thing in this tentative agreement, and that is that there will be a new pay chart within 120 days of ratification if we approve the contract. And that new pay chart will accomplish two things. One, it's going to eliminate steps AA, A, and B, and the new starting pay for career carrier will begin at step C. The second thing is everyone at the top step P, will get a $1,000 upgrade increase in pay. Now, if you are at the lower steps right now, you will obviously make more money in this tentative agreement because your pay will go up drastically higher than the rate of inflation. So if you're at step AA, A, or B right now, it's a win for you, but it's, that's only a small percent of our workforce. If you look at the top step, even with the additional $1,000, it still doesn't keep up with the rate of inflation. The rate of pay at this top step back in August of 2019 was $65,000. We would need to get all the way to $82,000 to keep up with the rate of inflation because that pay increase won't go into effect until June of next year, within 180 days of ratification. So if you look at the rate of inflation all the way through June of 2025 versus the $65,000 that we had in August of 2019, to keep up with inflation, top pay would have to go to $82,000. Even with the $1,000, you don't get to $82,000. It's $81,186. So you're still less, even with the $1,000, less than the rate of inflation. And obviously, if you're at steps C through O, you are definitely losing money or making less money versus the rate of inflation than we were making in August of 2019, which by all accounts has to be the baseline for what our pay should be. So there's one more thing that I want to go back to with President Renfro's opening statement. And this is the regards to the CCA classification. This is what he says.
The staffing crisis can also be addressed by shifting to an all-career workforce and abolishing the city carrier assistant position. The CCA position, in its current form, no longer serves the Postal Service or our craft. Overwhelming turnover is seriously undermining service. While we've made positive strides in our recent agreements to convert certain installations across the country to an all-career model, NALC seeks to convert all CCAs to career positions and make the all-career model the standard nationwide.
All right, so going to an all-career workforce was the center of our plan to make this job more desirable and if it's more desirable, it solves a lot of the staffing issues we're having and a lot of the mandatory overtime issues we're having as a result of the staffing issues, a lot of the service issues that we're having as a result of the staffing issues, and the post office can't get the mail delivered, and every day is an adventure and chaos and, you know, this type of environment that we've been working under for some years now. Going to an all-career workforce is central to solving that problem. You can look no further than the precipitous decline in veterans that serve our country and come back and apply for the job as a letter carrier. That number, which used to be about a third of the workforce, is way, way down because it's a non-career job. It's not a desirable job anymore, and that is a big part of the problem. So under the terms of the tentative agreement, we didn't make the all-career model standard nationwide. That's what President Renfro said our goal was, to make the all-career model the standard nationwide. Under the terms of the tentative agreement that we got, we didn't do what President Renfro said was the goal, which was to make the all-career model standard nationwide. In fact, there's no improvement to the CCA position whatsoever. The pay is actually less if you compare it to the rate of inflation. The maximum of 2 years as a CCA remained unchanged in the tentative agreement. We are simultaneously advocating for the Federal Retirement Fairness Act in Congress. At the same time, we are agreeing to a deal with the Postal Service that codifies the hiring of new non-career letter carriers all the way through the length of the contract in 2026. President Renfro said in his opening statement, "We have made positive strides in our recent agreements to convert certain installations across the country to the all-career model." He's referring to memorandum number 01986, 1986 memorandum, which we entered into in May of 2022. This memorandum was never designed to be the solution. It was supposed to be a stopgap until we could negotiate a new contract. And at that time, we were in between contracts. The economy had changed so drastically after the pandemic that it was impossible for the Postal Service to hire and retain enough letter carriers to get the mail delivered. At least, 6 days a week, like they're supposed to under the law. So what they wanted to do was, they said, we're going to have this all-career model in the installations that we think are, require it. And so we went to negotiate a new tentative agreement, and we did not accomplish the goal of incorporating the all-career model everywhere. We still have the same situation that we had before, which is that although we have a national contract, we have different rules that apply in different installations. And the Postal Service is the decider of which installations go into the all-career model and which ones don't. We've been advocating for many installations to go into the all-career model since May of 2022, and the Postal Service has refused to put them in for whatever reason or whatever numbers that they're relying on or their Ouija board or whatever. But we never got to the point of getting the all-career model everywhere. We do have it in a significant number of installations all around the country. Now, the problem with the way we negotiated this thing, we didn't get the all-career model everywhere. What we did get was a rolling over of the same memorandum that we signed in May of 2022. And the problem with that is it's not part of the tentative agreement. So the installations that are in the all-career model now don't have to be in the all-career model going forward. It's up to the Postal Service. You can look at the language right at the end of the agreement in M number 1986. It says either party may terminate this agreement in its entirety by providing 30 days written notice to the other party. So what that means is we didn't accomplish the all-career model nationwide that we were looking for, and we don't even have an agreement that the current offices that are in the all-career model will remain there throughout the expiration of the contract in 2026. That's a bad deal. That's not something that we should be voting for. All right, so this is the first end of the first part of the series. We talked about how the pay raises don't keep up with inflation and how the continuation of the non-career workforce is something that does not accomplish our main bargaining goal and does not keep up, does not allow us to have a contract that we can approve. The second part, coming up next, is going to be about all of the other terms in the contract and how they compare against what our bargaining goals are there. All right, brothers and sisters, let's do this. Share these videos with all of your coworkers. Let's get everyone in the NALC prepared to vote no on this tentative agreement and go to arbitration. We can do better than what's in this tentative agreement. We have a pledge card, a vote no pledge card, which you guys can share with everybody that you work with, everybody in your branch, everybody that you know around the country. Let's get as many letter carriers as possible to pledge to vote no on this tentative agreement and take our case to arbitration. Let's fight for the contract that we deserve.